Hello viewers, and welcome one and all to the Giddy Carousel of Pop, the podcast that takes an old issue of the elegant pop tome smash hits, usually from the 1980s, and has a right good rummage through its pages with a guest. I'm Simon Galloway, and joining me as ever is not Matt, Luke or Ken. It is, of course, Mr. Gavin Hogg.
Hello. You're all right?
I am all right. Are you all right?
I'm fine and dandy, tar.
Well, that's good to know. So before we set the carousel spinning in motion, Gav, what have you got to say for yourself?
Well, Si, thank you for asking. Today is the time to let you into a secret, Si. The carousel is powered by virtual coffee. The only way that we can fire it up to transport us through pop space is by unflapping the sluice hole and pouring in as much oat milk frappuccino as we can find. So, some big thanks are due to some lovely people. We've got Chris Stewart, who says, "Hi both, finally hopped on board and holding on for dear life. Keep it spinning." Much obliged, Chris. Thank you very much. Christine Ross, who just says, "Loving it, boys." I like it. Short but sweet. Thank you very much, Christine, for your kind donation. And Claire Weir has also given us a very generous coffee. Claire says, "Started tuning in during lockdown to get through long, boring walks. The hits was a huge deal to this teen in a rural backwater and inspired me to be a journo and still influences my writing. From your favourite PSB fan and fellow feral dog show kid." Oh, thanks, Claire. That's really much appreciated. And all of this means that we can once again traverse the fruitful timeline of the pop universe.
Lovely. We've had some reviews in as well.
Have we, Si? Do tell.
We have, yeah. So Luby5 down there in Australia says, "My two favourite podcasts unite in the latest episode with Simon Price. Keep up the swingerilliant work." Well, thank you, Luby5. Sir Pick and Mix a lot here in Blighty says, "Sorry." No need to apologise, Sir Pick and Mix a lot. "Sorry, I left a review a while ago, but it seems to have disappeared. So here's a new one. Still subscribed, still loving it. The Simon Price episode was superb." Well, thank you very much. Eggy Newid says...
Pardon?
Pardon?
Eggy Newid?
Eggy Newid.
Okay.
Well, it looks a bit Welsh, so I'm saying it...
Yeah,
Welsh. Yeah.
I'm sure that won't offend anyone.
Look, I was christened in Wales, all right?
Yeah, it's valid, it's fine.
I've just caught up with the Simon Price episode. Such a tremendous, nostalgic and entertaining flight back in time to 1979. Looking forward to catching up with more episodes. Well, there's plenty to go at, Eggy Neward, so you just get stuck in. And Hat Mancock says, you should listen to this swingerilliant podcast. Resurrect Reg Snip Snipton, Corkio Lorky, Sir Billiam Vidal and Thumbs Aloft Macca. This celebration of Tom Hibbert will have you hooting with laughter. What a time it was and could be again. Just listen. See, that's the episode that we did a couple of episodes back for the launch of the Tom Hibbert book.
Oh, wonderful.
So thank you all for the kind words. If you're moved to leave a review, you know what to do. And if you're feeling flush and want to step it up and buy us a coffee, just go to ko-fi.com/giddypoppod to do that. Right, Gavin, hit me with the not literally.
I was going to say that.
No, just with the not physically, but just with the latest carousel happenings.
I certainly shall, Si. So, listen, the hot topic on everyone's lips these days is AI, right? So I thought I'd see what kind of adventure it might conjure up for us. So this is genuinely what it came is when I put a few prompts into AI. It said, Gavin and Si, two die-hard pop music fans, found themselves unexpectedly transported to 1988 while riding a carousel. Gavin's Walkman was replaced by a bulky cassette player. I don't really understand that. Surely I'd have a Walkman. And Si frantically searched for his non-existent smartphone. Undeterred, they strutted through the 80s streets. That's very much our style, isn't it? Strutting through streets.
Totally.
Geeked out over vinyl records and even snuck into a concert, belting out 80s anthems. Eventually, they found themselves back at the carousel, giggling like school kids, realising that even though they were fish out of water, there was nowhere else they'd rather be. As the carousel spun them back to their own time, they couldn't help but wonder what other adventures awaited them in the world of retro pop. What do you think, Si? It's lacking a certain something in it, that.
Yeah, I mean, I inspired by what you've done, I'd put something into AI as well, and it told me that the host was Simon and Sarah. So, is there something you've not told? Is there something you've not told me?
I was leaving that for another show, but okay, we can do it now if you like. Anyway, it is correct in that we are indeed in the middle of 1988. Looking around the fairground, we see various disaffected youth traipsing around wearing black leather belts and Grolsch bottle tops attached to their Dr. Martens. We pray that a delicious Bros-flavoured snack will be heading our way, for they truly never fail to delight and entertain. A young pop kid wanders over, introduces herself as Jen, presses the requisite coins into my hand and asks for a spin. Welcome aboard, Jen. Which horse from the array of equine-shaped former trees will you choose?
Thank you, Gavin. I guess I'll choose the big neon multicoloured Aswad House one.
Nice.
You know, that was very off the time, I think in June 88, or at least all the Primark, or pennies as they called it in Ireland, Bermuda shorts of the time were that way coloured. So yeah, I like the look of
You're
him
going
or
for the
her.
Aswad House? No one's chosen the Aswad House horse
There you
before,
go.
so
I think I'll go with that.
That's
Thank
yours.
you.
Clamber on. Through the steam rising from the elephant's whittle behind the donut van, a ghostly apparition of a Smash Hits cover begins to form. Clearer and clearer it becomes until we can identify a double goss entity. Our wishes have been realised. Jen, we're sorry about the piddling pachyderms. In time-honoured and legally binding tradition, the carousel will creak into action once you have honestly answered the following inquiry. Have you ever been sick in a gumboot?
Almost, but no. No.
Oh, how close did you get? Jen?
Festivals, you know.
Oh, right.
Obviously, wearing gumboots.
So
as
sick in
you
the
do,
vicinity
and-
of gumboots?
Yes, yeah, or feeling a little nauseous in the vicinity of a gumboot. Yeah. Yes, so no,
That's
I've
good
come
enough
quite
for us.
close. Yeah. Story of my life, really.
And upon the truthful answering of that question, we begin to spin.
The carousel has spun us back to the smash hits of the 1st to the 14th of June 1988, a snip at 48p. And if you want to read along with us, you can do just that, thanks to the Light Punk Never Happened and Smash Hits Remembered websites. You'll find links to the scans of this issue in the show notes for this episode, along with links to Spotify and YouTube playlists that include pretty much all the songs and artists featured in this issue of The Hits. You'll also find these links on our website, giddypoppod.home.blog, and we'll post them on our social feeds as well. Just search for the Giddy Carousel of Pop or at GiddyPopPod in social media land. So, Jen, you've chosen this issue for us. We're going back to June 1988. What was going on in Jen World in June 1988?
Well, I was a very awkward, geeky 11-year-old with a mullet. Can you believe? Honestly,
I can believe.
Yeah, thank you.
It was a time of mullets.
Yeah.
Earlier in 1988, I made the mistake of going to the family hairdresser. I requested a Daphne from Neighbours hairdo, you know, the little spiky version of Lady Diana's
That
do.
wasn't a
My
mullet.
sister, one sister had a Lady Diana do, and the other had a big Kevin Keegan perm. So I kind of wanted something in between. And unfortunately, that's what I got. And I basically looked like the soon-to-be fairly famous a few years later Liam Gallagher. I also, you know, bearing in mind that 11-year-old girls of the late 80s are famed for looking absolutely magnificently beautiful. I had a monobrow as well. I was just really geeky. I was very much trying to find myself, absolutely obsessed with music, and was a religious Top of the Pops watcher. My friend's sister used to get smash hits all the time, and I really quite liked reading that, singing along to the lyrics on the radio, etc. So I thought, I fancy a bit of this. You know, I'm 11. I'm earning an entire £1 a week pocket money, so I'm going to spend my money pick on the things that every 11-year-old girl does. As you can tell, I'm not from round these parts. I'm from Dublin. Grew up in Dublin and lived there until 18 years ago. So we used to get smash hits a day later than you folks over here in Blighty. It was a very strange time to being 11, because you start as a lady to get, you know, the old boobs, and you don't like any of that. And obviously there's periods and the general pubescent nightmare that comes along with it. But unfortunately, there are boys like these certain brothers from London, Matt, Luke and Ken, on the cover, who start to make you feel certain things as well and fancy them. So yeah, there was a lot of promise on the shelf of the newsagents, and I thought, I'm going to help kind of find my own little musical identity via the means of smash hits, So that's the start of it, really.
Yeah, what sort of music were you into then?
Well, this is the weird thing. Obviously, I was a pop kid. But my sister, who I shared a bedroom with, had the very worst taste in music ever. I kid you not, Christa Berg and all the ballads and all the...
Okay, was she slightly older than...
Just 7 years.
Okay,
yeah.
right.
She'll kill me for saying that, but anyway. We're all 21 plus VAT, aren't we? But yeah, I couldn't stand any of that. And obviously all the kids I went to school with were mad into Mr. Michael Jackson. If I had £1 for the amount of times he was mentioned in this issue, by the way, I'd be a billionairess by now. He bored me to death, to be honest, and I thought he was weird. Why on earth would I think that, eh? I really quite genuinely liked... I know I'm going to make myself sound like a hipster, and I'm not, but I genuinely really liked New Order and the Smiths. In particular, the Smiths had just broken up, which is devastating news for a young kid like me. But yeah, I think I was just trying to find my identity. I still... A lot of Irish radio at the time played a lot of American bubblegum pop. They used to focus more on the US Billboard Hot 100 than they did on the UK Top 40, but you still had access to that through Top of the Pops and that sort of stuff. And then all the video channels started coming on as well. The early forms of Sky and Super Channel and all that. My mum used to constantly moan about, you just sit there and watch pop videos all day. It damages your brain, which it clearly did. Yeah. So yeah, I was musically curious, but not old enough to go to gigs and such like at that point, being 11, really. And then me and my mates would obviously gather around the latest issue of Smash Hits and point out the boys that we fancied and sing the songs that we liked, and yeah.
So did you start buying Smash Hits around this time?
Yes, that was the very first issue that I actually bought. Okay. Yeah. 70 of your Irish pence back in the day.
Oof. How long did your Smash Hits fascination go on for? How many years did you...
Until kind of just before I left school, really. Okay, so it kind of stretched 16. To the whole early 90s here. I got a bit sick of the whole Take That stuff. Yeah, I was just as fed up as Take That as you guys probably are talking about Bros, really.
We never get fed up talking about
They are the gift that never stop giving, really.
They are. And just wait till we get stuck into Take That.
No, that all got... And you see, back then, when I was around 16 or so, I was all into... I kind of graduated to Select magazine.
Right.
They were the sort of... I think Select were the smash hits of the indie, rave, grunge world.
Teens.
Lots of posters and... all that sort of thing, but no lyrics, tragically, and no swingerilliant, general, hilarious journalism, thanks to the wonderful. But most importantly, in this era, I used to get lost in the issues, and I started thinking, I want to move to London, and I want to be a smash hits journalist when I grow up. Now, that would have been a long... a career with great longevity, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, the humour really got me, as I'm sure lots of people who have been on this podcast have said. Sylvia Patterson's writing is incredible. I've read her book since, but just the whole tone and the fact that the editor constantly used to keep interrupting and say, that's quite enough of that now, pal, and just that's informed my whole sense of humour, and it's never gone away. As I said to you on the way here, Simon, I don't think it ever leaves you.
No.
Really?
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It gets into DNA, doesn't it? It just grabs you and sticks in there.
It may lie dormant for a while, but it doesn't take much to reactivate.
Yeah, and then of course I used to bring it into school because I was still in primary school. In Ireland, we stay in primary school till we're 12 and then start secondary school then. But of course, all the girls would just rip out the pictures of Bros and Jason Donovan and whatever other crappy bands were around. I accidentally left it with my friend Claire in school one day, and she cut out every single incidence of Jason Donovan. There was even one which is in a tiny picture the size of your thumbnail, where it was like a calendar of the year, and obviously there were 12 different pop stars and then Jason was one of them. She basically pinched out the picture of him with her compass, not even a scissors, because she was that obsessed with him. So yeah, he used to go down well, but I was always the one who bought it, you know. Yeah, all of us in my family have a terrible magazine habit, and some of us are recovering, i.e. me, and some of us are not as well. So we all had my mum had Woman's Weekly, my sister used to have all the naughty, New Woman and the naughtier magazines. My brother was anything sci-fi, film, Look-In and all the TV stuff, and mine just happened. My first one was Smash Hits.
Well, you're on the right podcast then.
I hope so.
Yeah. So, what about you in 1988? What were you up to?
Oh, so much going on around this time. So I'd have been 14 in the... Well, come to the end of the third year at secondary school.
Yeah.
Is that year 9 now?
Yeah.
It was just a free-for-all. We didn't care. It was the last bit of freedom that we had in education before the GCSE started. But it was also the year that we had a lot of student teachers and a lot of supply teachers for some reason, and nobody who could keep a handle on the class. I was in one of the top tier classes.
Yeah.
But just the combination of kids that were in there was just our class, we were given letters and we were R, like 2R, 3R.
Yeah.
So we were known as Riot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I wasn't.
familiar.
Yeah,
I was going to say, you're not that kind of guy.
I wasn't one of the naughty ones.
No.
I was usually on the periphery, but they'd get a detention for. But I was just trying to get out of the way of a water pistol fight in the English classroom, which meant I had to run across some desks just as the teacher came in. So it looked like I was instigating the madness. So I got the detention that day.
Oh.
But the other exciting thing that happened around this time is that this is in Sheffield, on the outskirts of Sheffield, and a shopping centre opened with a cinema.
Wow.
The place that we know as Crystal Peaks. Gav, you're familiar with Crystal Peaks?
Yeah, my mum lives in
aren't you?
Crystal Peaks. Not in the shopping centre, but very close by, yeah.
So I remember opening day, we all got out of school and raced down, because it kind of opened in phases, in stages, but certainly for when the cinema opened, there was a like a little road show from the local radio station. The guest of honour was Adrian Edmondson.
Wow.
Brilliant.
I got him to sign my copy of the Living Doll single, Cliff and the Young Ones, which then Sharon Hinchcliffe from my class came and got hold of it and smudged the felt tip. Right, and he didn't even sign it properly. He just, I don't have it anymore, but he put speech bubbles coming out of everybody's mouths, and the only one that I can remember was that on coming out of Rick Mayall's mouth, it just said, "I farted."
Brilliant. And as a teenage lad, that's the funniest thing ever.
As a 47-year-old, it's still hilarious.
Well, I was obsessed with comedy, and I loved all the Young Ones stuff, and comic strip, and then Friday Live / Saturday Live, Blackadder, and all that kind of thing. So he was a real hero for me, and to meet him.
Me too.
But he was quite quiet, seemed quite shy, and just a bit like, I'm not really quite sure what I'm doing here. Which always struck me as a little bit odd. He was so at odds with the character of Vivian.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what was going on socially. Musically, it's a very mixed bag. Certainly nothing, barely anything that I was listening to appears in this issue of Smash Hits. I think there's only Morrissey. There's an advert for Every Day's Like Sunday in here.
It wasn't single of the week, but it was in the reviews.
It was in the reviews. There's an advert for it, and that was like my favourite Morrissey 12-inch. I think that's the pinnacle of Morrissey as a solo artist. To be honest, they put the 4 tracks on that 12-inch single. But I was listening to a lot of, as a 14, coming on 15-year-old boy, listening to a lot of Led Zeppelin. Right. You have to do it at that age. The Wedding Present, Joy Division. Iggy and the Stooges, the Raw Power album, listened to a lot that year. I was getting into Jimi Hendrix as a budding young guitarist. So there's all that going on. I was listening to a lot of radio as well. So John Peel, the top 40 on a Sunday, followed by Annie Nightingale, followed by a bath, and then watching That's Life on the telly with my mum and dad. Johnny Walker on a Saturday afternoon, which was like the adult grown-up music. So I felt like I was very sophisticated listening to that. And then the documentaries that they would have on Radio 1 in an afternoon. And I've been going through some old tapes recently from this period, and it'll be things from the radio, then all of a sudden something will come crashing in. Generally it's me recording myself or recording phone calls with mates.
We did a lot of that. When I was...
So I've got a jingle that I made for myself.
This is wonderful.
Which I achieved a multi-track effect by using 2 tape recorders and a microphone. And layering it over. So it's quite hissy. I remember going through the process of recording this, but I don't remember actually recording this.
1, 2, 3, 4. Simon Galloway plays all sorts.
Now, I don't know what that accent's all about. At sort of 36 years removed, it sounds slightly racist, but I think, let's listen again. I think I'm channeling Brian Ferry.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going on there. When I listen to it now, if I try and sing along, I'll go into a Brian Ferry sort of thing. Yeah, so.
1, 2, 3, 4. Simon Galloway plays all sorts.
So I think, yeah, I'm definitely doing a bit of Brian Ferry there. But then I've also found, like I say, I used to record just phone up mates and just record the phone calls. Didn't phone them up for any particular reason, and I was never very good at kind of making up a reason of why I'd phoned. So I found this tape of me calling my mate Mark, who I'm still friends with now. Who we all called Sedge when we were at school. So here's a bit of this. This is absolutely fascinating, top tier teenage chat going on here. Let's have a listen.
Hello?
Mark there, please.
Hold on.
Yeah, Sedge?
Yeah.
You alright?
You're not taping this, are you?
No! Why should I tape it?
I don't know, why should you?
Did you go out today or what?
Well, I went to town.
I went downtown with Chris and Holland.
Did you go?
I got a tape. I bought a pack of 5 tapes yesterday, 2 of them chewed up.
What's that?
Maxell C90s, they were $3.99 from Curry's. Real bargain.
Are they good quality?
Oh, apart from them 2, they chewed up.
Wow.
So, just a little snippet of.
Can I just say, this was the stage where I was really starting to moon over boys. And I would be wondering what the slightly older 14-year-old boys that I fancied were thinking and what was on their mind. And, how could I open up a wonderful conversation that would make them fall in love with me? Well, Mike, now I know it's that crap.
Yeah.
All you needed to, if you'd have bought a pack of 3 TDK, you'd have been
One
in.
is harsh.
That's the keys to my heart. I mean, I do know for a fact, because I found the tapes to prove it, that for 14 consecutive Saturdays in late 1988, I stayed in the evening and taped a Beatles series that was on every night at 7:30. I've still got the tapes to prove it. So that's what I was doing on my Saturday nights when I was 14.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sport-free zone, so it's just music and pressing record buttons. So, that's what made me happy. Gav, what about you?
Well, I was a bit older. I was 18 at this point. I was just coming towards the end of my A-levels. It would have been around this time. I remember on my last, after my final exam, I went back to my girlfriend's at the time, and it's the first time I got properly sick, through drinking. I was showing off. I got a bit giddy, I think, because it was the end of the A-levels. It was a summery day. She had a bottle of Southern Comfort in the bottom of a wardrobe, so we sat in a room, 4 or 5 of us in there. And I was just showing off as well, I think, a bit bravado. And I'd never had spirits before, really. I'd maybe had a bit of creme de menthe, one Christmas a few years ago, or sherry liqueur. But I drank about 4 or 5 glasses of Southern Comfort, one after another, in about 5 minutes.
Neat.
Yeah, just neat. Just not like pint glasses, but
I can handle this.
shots, or double shots kind of thing. Thought, it's fine, And then obviously the effect took hold after a few minutes, and I was got room spin for the first time, didn't know what was going on. I had no idea at all. So I had to be driven back home by her dad, which wasn't great.
Ouch.
It was a bit embarrassing because actually that was the first time I'd ever had a girlfriend that was older than me as well. She was a year older, called Claudia. And even though I grew up in Solihull, which is quite a posh place, but she was posh Solihull, I was like the rough end, So I was the younger rough lad. I was the Luke. Or was it the Matt? Luke, right? He's the cool guy. So yeah, like I said, Dad had to drive me home, and my mum wasn't too happy. But there we go. It was a rite of passage,
True.
So while you were thinking of chewing up tapes and making jingles, I was on the bad edges of town, my friend, getting drunk on Southern Comfort and getting driven home in a Range Rover. Music-wise, Fever Hate had come out not that long before. I was a big Smith fan, so I was kind of getting into the Morrissey stuff as well. I was going away to Polly a few months later, so I think I was kind of readying myself for the kind of music that I'd be listening to there. So think Eight-Legged Groove Machine by the Wonder Stuff came out around then, which was a really big album for me. I loved that album and those singles like Wish Away and stuff like that. George Best, you were talking about Wedding Present before. I had that. I was listening to Peel quite a lot. And then in terms of like the older stuff, things like the Velvet Underground and Captain Beefheart, and just kind of experimenting a lot more. So Smash Hits really wasn't on my radar at all at this point, and the music. I mean, obviously I remember kind of a lot of this stuff just from, still used to watch Top of the Pops and stuff, but really hoping for a glimpse of Morrissey or Sisters of Mercy or The Cure or The Cult or whatever vaguely alternative might be on there, you know. So yeah, that was my life in 88. So we have a look at this Smash Hits from 1st to the 14th of June 1988. 48 pence, or very importantly 70 pence
in the Republic of Ireland.
in the Republic
in
of
old
Ireland.
money, yeah.
Yeah, in old money.
pre-Euro
And we have the wonderful aforementioned Bros brothers on the front cover. Quite an odd poser in. It kind of makes Matt look like he's got a tiny wee left arm. Because Craig / Ken is in front, and I don't know, it looks a bit weird. And then Luke's right arm, he's got it at a strange sort of angle. Like, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think Matt's kind of climbing on the back of them.
Yeah.
It all looks a bit awkward and a bit strange, but
Craig is really looking like he doesn't want to be here, which, you know, came to pass eventually not long after.
he got what he wished
Or
for.
Ken,
right?
sorry. He's just Ken.
Forever Ken.
Forever Ken. On the front is we learn that you can win lunch with Philip Schofield, which is
Yikes.
wonderful. Yeah. It also tells us Debbie Gibson, Aswad, Derek B, Tiffany, Aztec Camera, Boy George, Scritti Politti, Hothouse Flowers, and Michael Jackson are all featured. And free inside, there's a double-sided giant poster of Wet, Wet, Wet and Kylie Minogue. Let's have a look at the contents and see what else. There's all the aforementioned, as we've said, as well as the usual favourites like RSVP, Get Smart, the letters page. In terms of the songs, we've got the England football team, which we'll come to shortly, All the Way. Ofra Haza, Imnin Alu. Chains of Love by Erasure. The 5-star song is Another Weekend. Don't Go by the Hothouse Flowers. Status Quo's Who Gets the Love. Bros, I Owe You Nothing. Samantha Fox with Naughty Girls, brackets Need Love Too. Hey Mr. Heartache by Kim Wilde. Aswad, Give a Little Love. Is that LA Mix or La Mix?
No, LA Mix.
LA Mix, sorry, I wasn't down with the kids there at all. Check this out. That's the name of the song. Oh, Pat, You Don't Feel Sorry for Loverboy by Scritti Politti. And finally, probably one of the finest Beatles cover versions that I've ever heard, Tiffany's I Saw Him Standing There, which is just wonderful.
I must have been listening to a different song.
Me too.
It's brilliant, that, isn't it? So, so that's what we've got in Smash Hits. And next to the contents page, we've got Boy George talking about his new single, No Clause 28, Si.
Yeah, I mean, there's a whopping Grateful page with an extreme close-up of Boy George, and so there's the interview with him next to that. So let's see what he's going on about. This is how the piece opens. Primarily, it's just a good pop song, and if people like it for that, great. Boy George is talking about his new single, No Clause 28, a song protesting against a section of the new Local Government Act, which came into force last week and which makes it illegal for local authorities to promote homosexuality or to present it as acceptable. So it goes into a bit of a convoluted explanation of Clause 28 that kind of ties itself in a knot, and I tried reading it out and I was just tripping over it. So it kind of sums it up. It says, taken to extremes, the communards, for example, could be stopped from playing live, and libraries could be stripped of any books that mention homosexuality without condemning it, i.e. a rather huge amount of modern and classical literature. So yeah, I mean, the songs... It says that it's a good pop song. I don't think it's George's most memorable.
No, I would agree.
Offering, is it? But it was produced by Jeremy Healy,
Oh, right.
of Hazy Fantasy. It did make me think how, what an influential pairing Hazy Fantasy were, because you got Jeremy Healy, who went off into the world of dance music and was kind of massive in that, and then Kate Garner being like this amazing photographer as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, we're living in Hazy Fantasy's world.
From the Hazy Fantasy acorn, great oak trees have grown.
Yeah, but there's quite a few quotes from George. He says, I think Mrs. Thatcher's policies are all about extremism, and it frightens me the way England is changing. It frightens me that England is going to turn into America. I don't want to live in America.
Interesting.
Yeah. He talks a bit more about the record. The main thing with this record is I'm trying to be funny. I didn't get any humour from it as well. It's not hateful, because hate and equality don't go together. I'd hate anyone to miss the humour of the situation. It's really just making people aware of something because it's something I care about. It's not a good career move, I'm sure. It might be the biggest mistake I've ever made. Laughs. Oh dear, I'll have to live in Moscow. And then it goes on to talk about a cancelled trip to Moscow and his upcoming album due in the autumn. But it still feels a bit strange, 5 years after Culture Club's heyday, that Boy George is being given such prominence. But it's also, I think, really interesting that, as we've seen with other issues of Smash Hits that we've looked at, that they're taking on something, socially and politically as well, and making readers aware of that.
Yeah, as an 11-year-old, I found this particularly interesting because, and it's sort of a comparison with the Times now to the Times then. You couldn't trust the news, the British news in particular, to give you an accurate picture of what Clause 28 was. We all knew about AIDS, regardless of our age, because we, all of the ads and all of the general media coverage of AIDS in the 80s was absolutely blatant and strong, regardless of what your age and your level of understanding was. But I guess this actually taught me more about what Clause 28 was at the time than anything else that was out there in my little cosy suburb in Dublin. And unfortunately, things these days haven't really changed. So I guess it's useful and really good that they have this article here, but like you say, it's a bit of a convoluted article, and I'm not sure Mr. George is quite getting his desired message across, whether that's editing or having known Boy George as he is now. He's he's a very interesting person to interview, but he is a little, shall we say, moody. Moody's the wrong word,
Yeah, he can be a little spiky, can't he, sometimes, I think,
precisely.
and inconsistent, but...
Yeah.
But yeah, like you say, I think it's really interesting that Smash Hits haven't shied away from the politics here and the sort of social issues. And again, like you said, I think there's like echoes with things that are happening today, in terms of sort of gender politics and him saying about not living in America. And I think people's fear at the moment, with the American political system, and it's kind of a bit of a crazy time to be alive right now, and it feels quite circular, I think, really, a lot of things coming around there. Also, you talked about the communards, it could lead an extreme measure to the communards not playing, and it's weird to think now, because Richard Coles is such a national treasure, that at one time, he was like really at the cutting edge of what was deemed acceptable in society, and so in some ways we've moved, like we've shifted a lot from where we were, but in other ways it feels like we've just gone round in a big circle, because I think in the 90s, like say during the Britpop era and stuff like that, no one was really thinking about, we don't want to be like America. It seemed like there was a lot more kind of confidence within the UK of itself, and now it feels like there's a lot more fear again in the world, and
Yeah.
But I never remember Smash Hits shying away from, LGBTQIA coverage. Now, granted, it wasn't on every second page, but I always remember them referring to Soft Cell as our gay chums. And obviously Jimmy's and, the communards, Jimmy and Richard, were in the issues quite a lot. I guess what you have to think about, though, is very few artists were actually out at that point. So they wouldn't really speak about their sexuality, or I happen to be living with a man, or I happen to be living with a woman in London or wherever. If Smash Hits was around now and they did an interview with Ollie Alexander, his sexuality would very much come across, I think, quite strongly and be quite informative and inclusive of the people who are reading it, in a very different way that you would have had back then, whereas obviously back then I think they just focused on asking Jimmy Somerville what his favourite colour was.
Okay, we turn a few pages and we come to bits. There's lots and lots of bits in this issue.
Appropriately named.
Yeah, many bits of bits. We've got features on the Jets, Billy Bragg, Pebbles, the return of the Beastie Boys. That's just an old record that's been re-released. And the 2 questions on a nation's lips. Has Madonna gone completely off her trolley? And will Mandy Smith ever be a pop star?
Yikes.
Jen, where should we start with bits?
Do you know what my
want
favourite thing of all of this is? Win a pair of Whitney Houston binoculars. How incredible is that? My life would immensely benefit right now from a pair of Whitney Houston binoculars.
We all need those in our lives.
Oh, I mean, you know, that's the first thing you think of when you think of Whitney Houston, isn't it? Ooh, I must fetch me binoculars. Honestly. I have to say, though, poor Madonna, all the woman is doing is modelling some very cool stuff, actually. You know?
Yeah.
And not particularly outrageous get-up at all that she became sort of more later famous for as well. She looks perfectly nice, but she is being accused of going off her trolley, just like she is now, basically. So, yeah, leave her alone in this case. Just leave her alone. But the other thing that hits me too, it sets the tone. Again, if I had an old Irish pound for every single quotation mark used in this entire magazine.
Yeah, it's quotation mark heavy,
The
isn't it,
editors
let's
went
say.
mental on the old quotation marks. I'm just even looking at this Madonna thing. What curious capers the rich and famous get up to in their quotation mark spare, quotation mark time, readers. And there's, across the quotation mark pond. And then, i.e. the quotation mark U, quotation mark S, off quotation mark A. Yeah, you wouldn't want to be allergic to them, really, would you? Oh, I forgot about this little poem in the corner as well. Shoes are very useful. You wear them on your feet, but because they're made of leather, they're not much cop to eat.
Yeah, well, there's because Bits always had in this time a different theme to its layout, and this one seems to be a shoe theme. I've got no idea why.
Well,
But there's illustrated shoes lining the pages and going in between the columns and
I've
things.
got a bookcase full of shoes at home. I have another bookcase full of books, but yeah, I've got an IKEA Billy one full of shoes. So I get that. You know, it's somebody like-minded must have been doing the editorial design that day.
A shoe library. I mean, what's your filing system?
Boots on the bottom. And yeah, different colours basically per shelf.
And do you have to scan them in and out?
No, not yet.
Like a
I should
London
though,
library.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should barcode them, I think.
So, what catches your eye on this Bits?
Oh, well, let me see now. The thing that caught my eye and what I would have bought some blank tapes for was, and in fact I did, why are George Michael, Phil Collins, Dire Straits, Whitney Houston, Eurythmics, Simple Minds, the UB40 all playing at the same concert?
UB40? Excuse me.
UB bloody 40.
Thank you.
UB
Thank
bloody
you.
40.
First and by the correctly.
All 97 of
Yeah.
them.
I got a bit carried away there.
Yeah, all right. Okay.
Do apologise.
Is it to raise money for a new pair of binoculars for Whitney Houston?
So Whitney Houston would be playing at her own benefit concert. No, it's because they're all going to be appearing at the special concert being held at Wembley Stadium on Saturday, the 11th of June, to commemorate the 70th birthday of Nelson Mandela, campaigner for black rights in South Africa, who's been in prison for 26 years. And what's more, the whole shebang is going to be televised live on BBC Two and Radio 1 and beamed by satellite all over the globe. What a jolly pop jamboree it's set to be. So, yeah, I did buy a fresh pack of C90s and sat...
Non-chewable.
Yeah, non-chewable, sat in the living room all day next to the hi-fi, recording that whilst watching it on the telly as well, with the television sound turned down and the sound coming through stereo on the speakers. I probably recorded it on video as well, but
Probably
yeah.
did,
And digging through my tape collection, I've only got one tape left. And it seems as though I've compiled what I consider to be the highlights onto one cassette. The highlights begin with Sting.
Oh, God.
And later on in the tape is Solo Midure. So I had a funny idea of highlights in 1988.
I don't think I ever saw Mandela Day, but it sounds like Live Aid with like all the decent stuff taken out, really, like really worthy. And
It was a really well planned Live Aid.
Yeah.
The thing about Live Aid is,
That was a good thing about Live Aid. It was a bit chaotic.
a bit chaotic,
Yeah,
seat your pants sort of thing. Whereas Mandela Day was,
More Simon Le Bon than Queen.
yeah, it was a lot longer in the planning, but very worthy. You got like I said, Sting playing and the Midshore, Peter Gabriel. The whole thing's topped off.
Snooze-a-thon.
Yeah, topped off with a Dire Straits with Eric Clapton guesting on guitar.
Lots of white, rich musicians, basically.
Basically, yeah. I think that Tracy Chapman played.
Yeah, true.
And Eurythmics played.
A bit Q heavy though, isn't it?
Yeah, very seedy. I think that the best set of the day was probably Simple Minds, really, and they had Johnny
Very first
Marr.
band I ever went to see a year later. Yeah,
There we
and I
are.
only saw him a couple of weeks ago as well. Yeah,
You come full circle. But yeah, Johnny Marr guested with them, and they did a version of Summertime Blues. But yeah, very, very worthy, which kind of also speaks to the fact that I did a sponsored walk at school in 1988. And we could choose, each one of us who we wanted the money that we raised, and choose the charity that we wanted it to go to. So I chose Amnesty International, man.
excellent. He got out of jail a year later, thanks to you. Basically, yeah.
There we are.
Direct cause.
There was a sponsored walk round Sheffield,
Brilliant.
past some World War II bomb shelters, and there we go. Well, £13 went to a good cause.
Excellent.
Gav, what about you? What's
I quite like
leaping out in bits?
The Jets. I don't remember the Jets. Do anyone remember the Jets?
I remember that song. How could you know? I've got a crush on you.
Yeah.
I remember
And that
that
was
one.
literally because my other half sent me a video of some Japanese 17-year-old DJ cutting it up with
Scissors.
I Can't Wait, I think, of all songs.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I
Doing a
mean,
mashup.
incredible stuff, but it's one of these easily forgettable songs
Yeah.
from the 80s, really, isn't it? Yeah.
I love the photo. It says one of them's called Eddie, one's called Elizabeth, one's called Kathy, one's called Rudy, one's called Moana, one's called Leroy, and one's called Haini, I think, Haini. But can you guess which is which? I've not even bothered to caption
I'm
it.
loving
Just
these shiny
these are the names.
Blazers
Have a
that
go.
the guys are wearing, though, very, very mid-80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, more men
super
should wear
80s.
them, in my opinion.
There's 15 of them all together, and I'm thinking, what is it about these
Ireland
big
was bad.
American, these big American dynastic sort of entertainment families? You got the Jacksons, the Osmonds. This family is the Wolfgrams, which is a better. Actually, I think I'd like him more if they were called the Wolfgrams rather than the
Wolves.
Jets. Yeah.
They'd be brilliant in Wolverhampton if they played a gig there. They're from Tonga, actually.
Yeah. They live in America now, but
Oh,
they are
yeah.
from Tonga. Yeah, I think they live in. So something about Prince
live
being a
in
near
some
neighbour in
Prince.
Minneapolis.
Great.
We find out a bit about them. They used to have 10 German Shepherd dogs and 2 cats, and one day their dad came home with a horse,
How big's their house?
which I liked
It
a
must
lot.
be the size of the house in Home Alone.
It must have been a huge mansion they've got. It says it stayed a day because their backyard was too small and the neighbours complained about the smell. So that's what we learned about the Jets. There we go. Yeah, it talks about Prince. It says, we're based in Minneapolis. We met Prince indirectly. And then there's lots of question marks from the editor. He's very short. He's way down there, i.e. very low down indeed. He's even shorter than our sister Elizabeth, and she's only 5'1".
Ouch.
So, I enjoyed that. I also like their little fact file about Billy Bragg. It says, basically, little is known about him, except he sings like a Brillo pad, mostly about how useless Maggie Thatcher is, spelt with an F. And when he's not singing like a Brillo pad about how useless Maggie Thatcher is, he sings like a Brillo pad about being spurned by girlies.
Sir
That's all you need to know
Billiam
about Billy
as
Bragg,
well,
yeah.
to give him his proper smash hits title.
And there's a decent little feature about Pebbles, who I'd not remembered. I remember the name, but I didn't remember this song. She likes to accomplish things in the bath and dream about Michael Jackson. There's Michael Jackson. But there's more dreaming about Michael Jackson coming
But
later.
there was also a poem in the corner about Mr. Jackson as well. Oh, feet they are a nifty pair, especially when they gasp for air. 10 plump toes that twinkle with action, especially if you're Michael Jackson? Question mark in brackets. Do stitch up your aching sides, people. Honestly.
She says, I'm an image person. I like myself to be beautiful, and I like everything and everyone around me to be beautiful.
Fair enough.
So that's Pebbles. I found out a bit more about her. She helped put the band TLC together, if you remember TLC.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
But then they filed for bankruptcy in 1995 due to Pebbles' alleged mismanagement regarding their funds.
Uh-oh.
This is all from Wikipedia. This led to Pebbles suing Pebbytone, the production company that she'd initially formed. She divorced her husband and sued his record label for $10 million. She's been married
lawyers.
5 times, which I thought was
Wow.
quite impressive. So she married a judge in 2012. She's not been divorced since then. I guess judges are
Well, she
harder
does.
to divorce.
That's what happens, I
aren't they?
guess,
So-
when you like to surround yourself with beautiful people.
Yeah, that's what happened. So yeah, her single was Mercedes Boy. Do you want to ride in my Mercedes Boy?
My favourite car. That must have done that for me.
She used to sleep with a puppy, not in the
In
biblical
that
sense,
way,
just
yeah.
on the bed, just in case the judge is listening. So, yeah, we also get a bit about will Mandy Smith ever be a pop star?
Yikes.
I'm not
Poor
sure where we're going
Mandy.
to go with this. She's very big in Europe. Says it's crazy in places like Italy. Pipes the popstrel. I've got this big bruise all the way down my leg from a time when I was appearing at a club, and I had my dress ripped all the way down the back, and everyone rushed forward and started pulling me, so it can get a bit frightening. We don't learn a lot about her other than she likes not to wash her hair for a few days because it's better when it's a bit dirty because it's too floppy
I
and
kind
limp
of
when it's
side with
clean.
her on that.
Yeah, I'm
she had
totally down
beautiful
on that.
hair.
Yeah,
She had
yeah.
absolutely gorgeous hair. What I do like about this article, though, we all know, sadly, what Mandy Smith is. No fault to her, anything like that in
Absolutely,
any
yeah.
way. We all know why she's famous, and there is absolutely no mention of her
Yeah,
gentleman friend who became her husband.
quite
and,
correctly
yeah.
in Smash Hits, I think.
Which is again a nice positive reflection of how good the journalism actually was.
I had the little look at the video on the playlist for the song. What is it, Boys and Girls? Yeah, I mean it's her and a mate who looks a bit like Tiffany.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah,
Like going out for a bit of retail therapy in a part of London. I can't quite identify it. There is a number 28 bus to Golders Green that they failed to catch.
Maybe they weren't looking at the right timetable.
Exactly. So they're wandering around, looking a bit Brossetish, actually. But it does look like they're on the set of EastEnders. You know, it looks like at one point they look like they're walking through Albert Square. Pretty sure they're going down the market and they buy an apple from Pete Beale treacle. But then,
Mandy?
Yeah.
Going for some jelly deals.
But what confused me was, so they're wandering around what looks like Albert Square and stuff. But then there's a dog in it that looks like Bouncer from Neighbours. So are they really in Erinsborough?
It's a soap opera mashup.
It is. I mean, it's taking all the popular culture tropes of 1988 and just mashing them into one.
The Sugden family from Emmerdale are going to turn up at some point.
Exactly.
Presumably.
Ross's first video, When Will I Be Famous, if I remember correctly, that was a bit like that too, wasn't it? They were just all hanging out in town in their manor, doing a bit of damage and yeah. Yeah, that was very those type of videos were very much of that era. There is something else, actually, to be fair, I have to hand to Mandy Smith musically. There's a track of hers that's on a load of Balearic 80s compilations.
All right.
I just can't wait, and it's very chilled and mellow, kind of deep house. It's very good, and
Okay.
I have to give her the credit for that. And I don't think it's a Stock Aitken and Waterman song either, which is another increasingly rare thing in 88. Yeah, I think their dominance at the charts was about 80% at this point. It was reaching the peak.
Well, talking of Stock Aitken and Waterperson, I think you wanted to talk a bit about the England football team.
Oh, good grief. I just love the fact I did not deliberately choose this issue because the very first song is actually the England football team with All the Way, produced by the aforementioned Stock Aitken and Waterperson. I genuinely chose this because it was the first issue I bought, but it just did make me laugh because it was also England's very first match in the forthcoming Euro 88 football tournament was against the Republic of Ireland at their very, very first international tournament. And if anyone remembers correctly, Ireland unexpectedly beat them 1-0 in a match that made history. England went home in shame. Now, Ireland did, but in far less shame, obviously, as well.
And they're beating England.
But I think, unfortunately, in this case for England, Stock Aitken and Waterman's golden Midas touch did not quite work on the England team. And it's funny, because 2 years later then they did so well in Italia 90. I guess hell hath no fury than a team scorn. But I'm just looking at this. Peter Beardsley and Gary Lineker, who seems, if you remember, World of Motion came out 2 years later, and he seems to be mysteriously missing from all of that. The song, but not the squad.
Yeah.
He was in the squad.
Yes, he was, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not going to turn this into Shoot magazine retrospective.
I don't really know what you're talking about. I always reference the IT crowd episode about football. With the problem with insert team name is they think they can walk it in, and that's about as far as my football chat goes.
It's a game of two halves, Brian, unless it goes into extra time. I'm just looking at the picture to the right, trying to see. I think I see Brian Robson.
Yeah.
And I do not recognise anyone else that isn't Stock, Aiken or Waterperson, basically. I think that might be John Barnes, but it's a really, really small picture, and my eyes are 47 years old and I don't have my
I
glasses
think it
with
might
me.
be Viv Anderson, actually, at the back.
Maybe, yeah. I'm not sure
See
was he
Mark
in that
Lawrenson
squad,
is
but
there.
yeah, I'm sure plenty of people will stand to correct me. I love this. Was Kylie Minogue bellowing away in the recording booth, in inverted commas again? There was a rumour around this time when we were in school that Kylie was basically Rick Astley sped up, and Rick Astley was Kylie slowed down. That went on in my playground for yonks.
Only one of those can be true, though, right? I mean,
Exactly. And they are both still kicking it today.
Yeah.
Separately.
just before we leave this song, we get a little glimpse into Pete Waterman's, their technique. It says, we came up with the title a day before, and then we wrote the tune about an hour before the lads turned up at the studio. And to be honest, I'm amazed it took as long as that.
Yeah.
If we do it right, we're going to get there. If we do it right, because we feel inside that we can make it right, and the time is right.
Unfortunately, it was wrong in the end.
It was.
Yeah.
It says we can face any stormy weather just as long as we can be together. Well, they faced the stormy weather of Ray Houghton, didn't they? And
They most certainly did in the 6th minute,
and that was that.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a great clip on the playlist of them doing it on Wogan, and they just look all so embarrassed and uncomfortable. It's awful, isn't it? They're kind of like doing sports exercises as they're doing it, and it's.
I'm not surprised New Order
terrible.
had to come in and sort things out 2 years
Yeah,
later.
they made the pop single a bit,
With
the football single
the
a bit
rap
cooler, didn't
colossus that was John Barnes and his lovely thighs. Sorry, I'm getting carried away here. You see, this is the era of me seeing footballers' thighs in their short shorts and thinking, "Ooh, I've never felt that before."
they? Getting tingles.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Well, let's leave bits there, shall we? Move on a few pages past an advert for 5 stars another weekend. After Hazard's Im Nim Malou, which I found a Bruno Brooks top 40 from this era, and he really struggles saying that title.
Me and my
It's,
sister used to call it "I'm in the loo." Terrible.
Erasure's Chains of Love,
Banger.
and yeah, absolute banger.
Yeah.
And then to a feature, a couple of pages on Debbie Gibson. There's Debbie in a little hat.
Oh,
a
me and my
green
friend
jacket.
Davine absolutely loved Debbie. Yeah, we wanted to be her. She was only a couple of years older than us at this point.
Well, yeah, she's still 17 years old.
And writing and producing all her own stuff, or at least having the moxie to get her name on the writer's credits, which not a lot of people did back then, or women in particular. Yeah.
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 So Chris Heath has gone to speak to her. It says, "Come on, Debbie, time to rise and shine. Snooze out from under the duvet with your Mrs. Yawn." Debbie Gibson tells Chris Heath about her daily race against time.
More inverted commas galore.
Indeed. So she takes us through a typical day in her life. I mean, like I say, she's still 17 at this point. You know, she's at secondary school. But
Yeah.
Jen, how much do you identify with Debbie Gibson's routine from this time?
Possibly not the grey coconut shampoo. Yeah, God, we were lucky in those days if we got a bloody shower once a week. Bearing in mind that I lived at home with 2 sisters and 2 brothers at this point in a house that had 1 bathroom. So yeah, I did have an alarm clock. I do remember it actually had the same beep that is in Beat This by Bomb the Bass, which I never liked at that point because it reminded me too much of all of that. But yeah, the waking up and the snoozing, that would very much be me. And the breakfast. Oh, she starts school at 8 a.m. That's horrible. Bloody Americans, honestly. Sorry. Apologies to everyone school going in the US. Yeah, I think my mum just did that classic Marge Simpson thing and just tried to get us out of the house dressed and decent and as quickly as possible as well. So I remember there was a few times where she saw that my nails were too long at 8:30 and she'd be like, "No, I have to cut your nails now." "No, Mum, I'm going. I've got to go to school." But yeah, when you're 11, that is, as boring as it sounds, it's the centre of your life. So it's good to read something like this and think, ooh, here's a pop star that goes to school as well, even if she is quite criminally young. But she always seemed quite in control of her destiny, didn't she, really, Debbie Gibson? Or at least that's what came across.
I think that's the idea you get,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
she's quite normal, wholesome, And
Everyone's bigger sister.
and she's in control. She knows what she's doing, and she's aiming for that.
Whereas we never had the same vibe off Kylie at all. Not back in '88 at all. We always thought that she was a bit of a puppet. But Debbie seemed quite, I know what I want, and I'm out to get it. And here's these songs that me and possibly some other producers have written. But she, like I say, she put her name on the thing, and she got all the credit and made all the money for it, so I can only laud her for that,
She won a songwriting competition when she was young, or younger, got £1,000, and she decided that she wanted to buy some recording equipment.
Amazing.
With it. And I think it was a mom who ended up being a manager, managed to get some money out of the family, and basically they turned her garage into a recording studio. Which, when I found out, I was, like I said, 14 at this time, music and recording is what I wanted to do. So Debbie was like, oh my God, she's got all that. So, yeah.
Probably a bit of momager stuff going on there, really, Very interesting comment here under the breakfast section. I did go through a period of dressing a little strange. Once I wanted to wear my jeans cut short with a blazer on the plane. I can totally identify with that in the teenage years, or even now. And my mum got really mad at me, and we had about an hour's argument. She said that because my dad works for the airline, you're a reflection on your father and you dress too weird. She ended up winning. I can actually completely relate to that because I won't name names. My sister works for a certain airline. And before she got married, we were able to travel standby and, the whole friends and family thing. Yeah. But we had to dress in snoot gear, as it were, to use Smash Hits lingo. And I think back in '95, when we went to the US for the first time, I turned up because we were going to New York and I wanted to look real urban. I turned up in a bomber jacket and a pair of ripped jeans, and she was appalled. She pretty much said exactly the same thing. Yeah, you're meant to.
Going on the plane dressed like that.
Exactly. You can't tell me what to do.
Get your perv trousers off. Your perv trews. Yeah. She doesn't have a lot of time, does she, poor Debbie? It reminds me of...
Clearly not, no.
Who was there was a film star that was all over Twitter a few years back. Was it Mark Wahlberg, who had like a really funny daily routine that they posted?
Gets up at 2:30 in the morning or something ludicrous. Yeah,
it feels a bit like that, like an 80s version of that. She goes to the studio and she says, I'll stay in the studio sometimes till about 10 o'clock, usually. Sometimes till midnight or even 3 in the morning, and then she's up at school for 8 the next day.
When you're a teenager, you don't really sleep much, do you? I didn't.
No, I guess. Yeah. Well, she clearly doesn't. No, but she works out and listens to records by old hippies. Chris Heath's comment.
Yes. So I was trying to say who the old hippies were. Yes.
It doesn't say, does it?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Oh yes. Sorry. Yes. I missed that. Yeah, she's on the exercise bike and doing jumping jacks, toe touches, climbing up and down onto a bench, and then doing
80s.
Weights. Really 80s. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is a long old day that she's having.
It really is.
It's like she says, she starts
you can't
school.
knock the work ethic.
No, she starts school at 8. But I found this rather disturbing. A couple of times, fans have turned up at school. Once this kid followed me into the hall and started talking to me, and he was kind of creepy, so I just ran in the other direction and lost him. Imagine that.
I know there's clearly no security at all.
It'd be worse now, though, really. I mean, that's bad enough, don't get me wrong, but obviously when you think of One Direction and Taylor Swift and some of their admirers...
But you imagine there's a lot more kind of stuff in place around that now, security and
you would
stuff.
Hope so.
Whereas then it was clearly people just turn up at a school and try and stalk her or speak to her or whatever, and it must have been quite frightening,
Well, just to move on a little bit, she's talking about the music that she likes, and she seems to like George Michael quite a lot. She says, I like listening to George Michael's Faith album. My favourite song is Kissing a Fool. I also listen to the Billy Joel Live in Russia album a lot, and I just listened to Wham's Make It Big LP again the other day. That album is so good. I love bubblegum music. I've also got a tape of my favourite songs, things like White Lion's Wait, ? Billy Idol's Dancing With Myself, some Belinda Carlisle, some 50s songs like Paul Anka's Put Your Head on My Shoulder, Elton John's Crocodile Rock. Actually, that's probably my all-time favourite song. Now, that's where my regard of Debbie Gibson just took an absolute dive there, because honestly, it's possibly one of the worst songs ever. But, she's there. She's making what they call mixtapes, compilation tapes as we called them. Another thing that I love to do.
She just said there, bubblegum pop, like she was sort of the expert of that back in 1988, because again, we started going to school discos at that point. So yeah, me and my friends would have been bopping around to stuff like that. Very like the Grange Hill discos, you know, all very safe with a big crate of orange pop in in the so-called bar and the school hall. God, it was all hideously innocent. It really was, but it should have been, you know.
And then there's the Michael Jackson dream. Gav, do you want to? I mean, this is our second encounter of Michael Jackson in Dreamland.
Yeah, so she talks about having a dream about him. She says, I don't usually remember my dreams, but after I read Moonwalk, I dreamt that I met Michael Jackson and we hung out. It was so funny. I did meet him briefly once at the Grammy Awards, the American equivalent of the BPI Awards. I went up to him and introduced myself and said that he did a great performance, but there were so many people there and I don't think he knew who I was. I don't remember much of what happened with him in the dream. I just remember walking along, talking. I think we got along well, though.
We go forward a few pages and we get to half a page of RSVP.
Oh, yeah.
So, Jen, who would you be writing to out of these lot?
Yeah, let me see. I mean, I know you've had the conversation before about how freaky it is that they have their full addresses and their ages as well. So bearing in mind, I am 11 in this case, so Arthur is obviously way too old. In this case, Arthur from Levenshulme.
Who's 22, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a bit too old. But, you know, the now me is thinking that would be mine. Oh, Vic, who likes the Beastie Boys. Less of the Bon Jovi stuff. Def Leppard and Whitesnake, you know, yeah. Well, she seems pretty interesting. Vic in South Shields. I bet you my friends up in Newcastle probably know her now, I reckon. And I like Graham, but Graham is not mentioning his age, so, you know. The thing is, though, as an 11-year-old girl back in the relatively innocent 80s, would I have given that a second thought, realistically?
Probably not.
No, and my mum wouldn't. I mean, I knew enough when I was 11 years old to be bloody... I don't think I ever responded to anything like this, but if I was, I wouldn't have told my mum about it, because I know she would have scanned the letter and... perfectly properly and correctly, as she should, but yeah, I knew enough to just not run these things past my mum at this point.
Graham says, I like the Smiths. I guess that's what hooked you in, right? The Sugar Cubes, The Cure, The Wedding Present and lots more. I think we'd have all probably wanted to write to Graham, really, wouldn't we?
We'd have all been friends with Graham.
Yeah, he lived in Swinton in Manchester.
Yeah. The 10 and... See, I very much look down on anybody who was even a month younger than me, so the 10-and-a-half-year-old, nah.
No.
I don't write to babies, no.
Yeah.
Laura in Inverness.
Sorry, Laura. Jog on, love. Jog on.
Two girls who like a bit of Madonna. You know, we all did back then. In Loughborough, where my friend now lives.
What about Tracy? Would you have been interested in writing to her?
Tracy, she's 12.
She was 12, so a bit older.
older.
She liked Neighbours and Bros and Five Star.
Well, you know, one of my best friends back in school loved Five Star, so yeah, absolutely. Oh, she's from Biker. Grove, man.
Aye.
Yeah, terrible Geordie accent, I do apologise.
Ant and Dec as well, you know.
Yeah, and Lucy, around the same age as me, and yeah, we were big bread watchers in our house back in those days, and EastEnders and Neighbours, of course.
Read the TV programme, not just looking at loaves on the kitchen table.
No.
Okay, just for clarity. I know times were different then, but have you looked at the bread
not
today?
looking at bread, yeah.
There is a lot of Neighbours and moonlighting.
Yeah,
there is. Moonlighting was brilliant.
Yeah, and
I would love to see that repeated.
Yeah. And a lot of Bon Jovi and Def Leppard.
Def Leppard, yeah.
Well.
Now, fact fans, my best friend Rachel, my oldest friend from Dublin, her dad was Joe Elliott's gardener for years and years and years, because, as you know, Joe moved to Dublin around this particular time in the late 80s for tax exile reasons. But, you know, it was all legal and above board, and he stayed there. He's still there to this day. Poor Rachel's dad only actually passed away last year in his late 80s, but he was in excellent health, and up until very recently he was still Joe's gardener. And we were very keen lovers of Hysteria around now as well.
Wisteria.
Yeah, Wisteria.
Hey! Thank you.
Oh, Rick, who's 14. Rick with a K. My stupid, dumb, immature mind would have actually wondered, was that Mr. Mayle? If he's into Janet Jackson. 5-star Westworld. Who are they? And Black.
Yeah, probably not Rick Mayle then.
Yeah,
I don't
in
think
Carlisle.
The one below Rick is quite intriguing. My name's Angela. I'm 18 years old and I like Bruce Springsteen, In Excess, Men at Work and most chart music. This bit was quite intriguing to me. I spend my spare time drawing and keeping fit.
At the same time?
Yeah, well, I don't know. You had like on the running machine doing some drawing. You get quite a picture of an ideal man for Angela, don't you? Because she's like Bruce in Excess and Men at Work.
Very Australian.
I'm thinking men with like slightly mullety with headbands, bit rocky. Yeah. But not heavy metal, you know.
But then who potentially wear grey suits to the nightclub, you know, when you've got an interview at NatWest at 3 p.m. and you have to pop down the pub at 7 p.m. and that 1 pint ends up becoming 10. Yeah. There's an interesting one, Lesmana from Malaysia. Into the Pet Shop Boys, the House Martins. It's really interesting to see the global reach of all of these UK bands as well. You know, the House Martins, the Christians and Wet, Wet, Wet. And also the reach of smash hits as well. That I definitely probably would have written to Lesmana just to see what life was like for a pop kid in Malaysia in 1988.
Yeah, we got Franklin in San Francisco as well.
Oh, of course.
Who says, I totally love and I'm completely mad on the Human League, which by 1988, you know, the League weren't really doing much.
Well, they're only human.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Franklin's, I think, just a little bit behind the times, but he also likes Depeche Mode, OMD, Erasure, the Pet Shop Boys, and New Order.
Bad.
So I think electronic music is definitely, or British electronic music is definitely his bag. If you do too and you're 15 to 20 years old, write to me. Leaving RSVP behind, we go past, we've had the lyrics to Erasure's Chains of Love. We've now got an advert for it. An advert for Bros, I Owe You Nothing. And then to the personal file of Tiffany. We've had Debbie Gibson already, and now meet the Dark Debbie. It's Tiffany. I mean, where do you stand on the Debbie Gibson Tiffany debate, Jen?
I think back then I probably would have preferred Tiffany because she had that big -- 1 single. I mean, God, the standards that 11-year-olds from 1988 hold up, you know. Whereas now, you know, Tiffany didn't. Well, neither of them, unfortunately, went the distance. But it does look like Debbie made more of a career out of it. I see. Tiffany is slightly more relatable, but also a little bit more grateable. Simply due to the fact that she used to wear all those awful huge mohair jumpers that my 2 sisters absolutely loved, that I'm allergic to. I'm coming out in a rash just looking at her jumper right now. My sisters were very, very heavy knitters around this period, so they honestly, my eldest sister, I think, knitted about 30 jumpers that look exactly like this. So, yeah, you know, any of us could buy something like this down in Pennies, as we called it in Ireland, or Cassidy's, or all of the shops that were around then, whereas Debbie Gibson, even though she was a school kid, sort of still looked more of a pop kid, you know. She at least looked like she employed a stylist.
I'd heard of a stylist.
Exactly. But yeah, it was kind of the massive big rivalry at the time, wasn't it? It was Tiffany versus Debbie Gibson, one must die sort of thing.
I mean, there's only a few months between them in age, but we've already met the very disciplined Debbie Gibson with that, you know, hard routine and things that she follows, you know, seems to follow every day, very strict. Tiffany just seems a bit more relaxed, you know, a bit more easygoing. I think. Yeah,
more herself.
Yeah,
really. Yeah.
I would say so. What's your take on the whole Debbie Tiff rivalry?
Oh God, I don't know. It's like asking me grandparents Blur or Oasis. You know, they wouldn't have a clue. I don't know. It's like, I did, you know, didn't really like the music, and I wasn't kind of part of that world at the time. So now, I don't know. There's not a lot to choose between them. It feels like, you know, as you said, Debbie's the more professional, focused kind of career-minded one, and Tiffany was more the like schoolgirl that got a bit lucky, maybe, but enjoyed herself
and singing in malls.
Yeah. So. Maybe for that reason, Tiffany, just because I like the idea of something a bit chaotic, but this song sucks butt in a big way.
It's awful. And I also remember more Debbie songs than I do Tiffany songs, although that's like probably 4 versus 2, shall we say.
What about you? I mean, I guess you're Debbie, right?
Well,
she's got a studio in a garage.
I mean, I used to be Debbie. Now, you know, I'm probably More Tiffany.
More Team Tiff?
Yeah. Yeah, she's just a bit more freewheeling,
And of course, she'd
easygoing.
always get the redhead vote as well. You know, the folk who love redheaded people.
Anything from her personal file that that leaps out? I mean, where do you want to start with Tiffany's personal file?
Have you got anything interesting on your sideboard? That is an absolutely glorious Smash Hits-esque question. What's a sideboard? What's a dresser? I have a picture of my father when he was younger, Mr. Macho himself. That's a bit rum. And I have a picture of him in a car as well, and one that I carry around with me. Quite the daddy's girl here.
Yeah, that's a bit odd, isn't it?
Yeah, he's just a tad. Although I guess in those days she was travelling a lot, so, you know, we'll let her off. But yeah, it is a bit rum, as they used to say. Did you own a wooden Pinocchio puppet as a child? Now, it all starts very well. You know, I had a train set because I was more of a tomboy, never really played with Barbies or anything like that. I wanted to play with cars, trains, anything that made loud noises was great to me. And I had a spear that had bells on, like an Indian spear, and it was taken away from me by my grandfather. He was out in the lawn picking the weeds, and I decided that I would start off running with my spear in the air. Some great Smash Hits laughing quotation there as well. I do remember being in Smash Hits an awful lot back then. Here I come, and boom, I speared him right in the backside. I'd never seen my grandfather mad at me before, and I was just so shocked, you know. Mime staring at her spear in disbelief. Oh, dearie me, the trauma, honestly.
Well, you know, we've all speared our grandfather in the arse with a spear at some point in our childhood, haven't we? You know, who are we to judge?
It's a rite of passage.
Yeah. I love the question near the end. Do your eggs make a queer whistling noise when you fry them? And she's like, excuse me? No, never. I've never heard an egg whistle. I guess I must be missing something. I know what they mean. It's that kind of like slightly high-pitched, squeaky
I think
sound.
when people used to use an awful lot of oil to fry them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
well, that really made me chuckle.
Well, in film, like in film soundtracks, you used to get the wah-wah, the funky guitar.
Yeah.
We used to call that the
guitar.
fried egg guitar. Fried egg guitar.
Yeah.
See, I use those little circles that you fry the eggs in, you know, so you don't get a lot of noise from them.
Yeah, but there's egg
Basically.
chat with Debbie Gibson as well, isn't there?
What was the egg chat with Gibson? I forgot that.
Egg club.
Sometimes when she's talking about breakfast, she says sometimes I have eggs instead of cereal. But they're having a problem with eggs at the moment around here. Something about some disease. It's all in the newspapers. I don't really understand it.
Oh, that
but
was
I'm not going to get.
salmonella,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it must be.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't really understand it, but I'm not going to get paranoid about it anyway. So Debbie's a little wary of eggs, whereas I think Tiffany's just eggs. Fine.
Bring on the eggs.
Yeah.
Bring on the eggs.
Well, not on stage, obviously. That wouldn't be good.
No.
Yeah.
It's quite an odd bit where, you know, like in the Debbie Gibson one again, where there was like, it was all quite light, and then there was the strange bit like with the stalker kind of thing.
Yeah.
In the question, what do you think someone from Pluto would look like? She says, hopefully they wouldn't resemble someone like me. I don't know, green
Very hard on
maybe.
yourself, Tiffany.
But then it goes a bit odd. She says, she talks about like having a doppelganger. She says, I mean, I've seen people who resemble myself, unfortunately for them, but it's real scary, you know. You think there's two of me running around. I think maybe somewhere along the line we could all have a double. I remember once this guy wrote me a letter about his girlfriend who died, and he sent me a picture and she looked exactly like me. Exactly like me.
Yikes.
And he wrote me this whole big letter about how much he loved her, and they were both 17, and they'd been together since they were 13, and they were planning to get married, and then she died. That kind of gave me the creeps. It was a real tearjerker letter. It was a weird experience for me.
So like a cross between Archune and basically a kind of a...
Some sort of Doris Stokes thing going on. I don't know. It's
an eldritch horror.
Yeah, it suddenly goes a little bit dark again. We get that little glimpse beyond the glamorous idea of being a young pop star into like, there's some odd people trying to get in touch with you, you know. I mean, I think this is like a bit more innocent than the Debbie Gibson thing, but still like a bit creepy for Tiffany to get that letter.
To be handling that sort of thing when you're 17 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, life's complicated enough when you're 17.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't want men creeping out on you as well, do you?
I mean, through this, Tiffany just seems like genuinely bewildered by a lot of the questions, doesn't she? Which is great. Do you ever devise tortures for teachers during boring lessons at school? torches just appearing, and she doesn't really know what to make of it. At one point she goes, "Is this the last question?"
Yeah, because there's your contrast again. Debbie is eager to please. Tiffany's like, "What are you talking about?"
What I like is, she's really game for it, isn't she? And she's just kind of
doing her best.
What's your favourite kind of tropical fish? I can't believe this. I don't have any. I don't know any. I like goldfish, but that's not too tropical. That's the kind of level of answer we get.
Turning on a few pages, we get to Hothouse Flowers. They live in Bono's garage. They won the Eurovision Song Contest. They're beetling up the charts with the single Don't Go, and they're full of tales about gutting fish and being sick on a sausage. Reveals Tom, our man in Dublin, Doyle.
Well, this is very interesting to an Irish young lass reading this both back in 88 and now also. It's all very mild. It's not exactly wildly racist or discriminatory, but the so-called Emerald Isle, I'm like, eh? Maybe that's me just being fairly nationalistic and proud, I guess. The tin whistle class has always made me laugh as well. I mean, obviously all of us in Ireland very stereotypically had to learn the tin whistle at one point as well. The tin whistle was the very first instrument I learned to play. It's still very special to me. It's cheap to buy, only about £1.50, knowing Irish inflation standards, it's probably about €100 by now. And it fits into your top pocket so you can carry it anywhere with you. Now, he is right in saying it's the first instrument the kids are taught in school, much like the recorder is in the UK. We did both the recorder and the tin whistle, you see? Yeah. As Fiachna, pronounced Faulkner O'Brainoin, which is actually my surname in Irish. Also 22, and the tall one with the wide-brimmed hat and the unpronounceable name. How dare you, honestly. Oh, dearie me. There's also a very questionable bit where Liam, and I'm really sure this must be editing, because I can't honestly think that anyone in the Hothouse Flowers would say this. Liam is quoted as referring to Southern Ireland, which is not really what anyone Irish would actually say.
Oh, right.
There is Northern Ireland and then there's the Republic of Ireland, or it's just basically called Ireland. But I do find over here, I get asked a lot, or where are you from? Are you from Northern Ireland or Southern Ireland? Which it is understandable, but I know he wouldn't actually say this here, so I do think that's a little bit of an editing trick as well. I think if you travel down to Southern Ireland and walk onto a stony beach, you'll no doubt discover the true concept of Irish rock. Ho, 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 shrieks Liam.
Well, this is after the Don't Go had been played. Was it the interval
at the Eurovision? It was the interval at the Eurovision.
Yeah.
Now, it was a bit of a prelude of Riverdance, but it was still quite impressive, and it got their name out there. And it was a lovely picture postcard video of Ireland, of course, with suitably... Don't Go was a pretty good single.
Oh, yeah.
Not a bad old band. Yeah. I think it went down quite well. There is some mention, I think, in this interview about how Eurovision was still considered quite properly naff. Any involvement
it really was, wasn't it? Yeah.
with it was very much frowned upon, whereas now, as we know, it's become super, super cool and very much adopted by the LGBTQIA community as well. But that was the Eurovision that brought Celine Dion to fame, because she won it as well in Dublin, of all places too. It was a very interesting Eurovision.
Representing Switzerland, was it?
Yes, correct. Yeah. The biggest memory I have of that Eurovision actually isn't Hothouse Flowers or Celine. It's how fabulous Michelle Rocca's crazy noodle-haired spaghetti look at the end of the results bit was. It's you need to look up pictures of it. She has this hairdo that looks like a perm that then got ironed and then got turned into, those crispy dry noodles that you sometimes get in the Chinese as well, piled on top of her head like it's a fascinator. I'm actually amazed more people didn't adapt that hairdo, personally. But Michelle Rocca then became the long-term partner of Mr. Van Morrison for a very long time.
Must have been that hairdo that swung it.
I would very much think so, yeah. I think she was totally appealing to Van's market at that point.
Well, going back to Hothouse Flowers, I mean, did they mean much to you at this time?
I guess, again, this was still the era where if an Irish band made it big outside of Ireland, particularly in the UK charts, it would be a front page news article. It wouldn't be the leading headline. So again, it was all, ooh, Hothouse Flowers, they've got up to number 8 in the charts this week. Isn't that great? And we were all very encouraging of it, you know. I think they were also a nice little soundtrack of that summer, because if I remember correctly, I think the summer of 1988 was a very sunny and hot one as well. So it was a nice little easygoing tune, and they had a lot of mass appeal. It wasn't just, you know, the kids who loved them. You know, your parents would like them too, and that sort of stuff. Yeah, it was just nice Irish music without sounding overly Irish. Yeah, you know, it wasn't as pompous as U2 would have been. They were a nice bit of a light touch, jazzy sort of pop, really. So, yeah, they were quite well liked, but they wouldn't have been megastars. I think I'm going to sound like my bloody mum here. The long hair and all that for 1988 would have slightly, and they didn't exactly have a massive indie edge either, like a lot of other long-haired musicians of the day
I guess
would have been.
they're kind of more like that sort of Celtic soul sort of thing. So more in that sort of Van Morrison vein.
Yeah.
But yeah, Liam O'Malley's only 22 at this point, and he's
he'd be in his 60s now.
But he's quite a deep and soulful guy. Even at that age, he seems to have seen trouble.
That's what's Irish for you.
Yeah.
We've seen a load of shit.
There you go.
But the thing is, too, to give them their due, they haven't really changed. They still make very similar music. They still look the same, albeit with grey or whiter hair. You know, they just picked their niche and they stuck to it, which I've got great respect for.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I'm all for change as well, but if you do something that you're comfortable and sincere in doing, then, yeah, if you stick to it and can still get a lot of popular appeal, then why not?
Yeah. But I think this is probably one of my favourite pieces in this issue of the mag. It's quite an entertaining piece. You get the feeling that the interview might have been done down the pub.
Yeah, it gets quite surreal.
Bringing an Irish band down the pub? Never.
Yeah, well, they've got Tom Doyle from Scotland who's gone across to meet them. He's in Dublin with Hothouse Flowers. So they start talking about the school days. And Liam says, one of my most horrible memories was the day I started there. I can remember bawling my head off when I realised that my mother wasn't going to stay with me all day.
Oh, I know that feeling. Yeah.
But then I met up with some of the other kids who were pretending they were animals or something, so I joined in. And everything was fine. The very first thing I remember, though, is on my 5th birthday, looking at the fatty bits on my thighs, where they were pressing down on my chair. And the way all this flesh suddenly reappeared when I lifted my leg up again, and wondering where it had all gone to.
That reply at the end is very cutting.
Yeah. And then, so they're talking about, get on to talking about food. And Liam says, my favourite item of food is the potato, actually, with butter.
Not stereotypical at all.
Not at all. I'm fond of the old spud myself, concurs Faulkner. I don't eat meat now, but when I did, the little lumps of gristly fat often made me feel sick, says Liam. Also, here we go. Eggs. Also, eggs used to make me retch, but I'm over the eggs now. I can remember retching once on a sausage when I was about 7, says Faulkner.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Says Faulkner, for no apparent reason. I've retched a few times changing my little brother's nappies actually as well. I used to help my mother out with him, basically because I was capable of doing it. But it's okay because he's 6 now and he doesn't need any help from me in that department these days. Ha 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 ha. The closest thing I suppose that I've done to changing a nappy is cleaning out a chicken coop, says Liam. This is preposterous, Ed.
Why is it preposterous?
I used to enjoy gutting fish, actually, especially if I'd caught them myself, asked Faulkner. In brackets, I'm warning you, Ed. Throwing up is actually quite like a celebration, isn't it? Snip!
And that's where we end.
No, it ain't. Don't do this at home, kids.
I was reading that, just laughing out loud, because, like, where did that come from? You got no idea where it's going. Retching on a sausage.
And it was 100% done in the pub as well.
It's got to be, hasn't it? I think they come across well here, like you say. There's a nice feel to this interview.
Yeah.
They're clearly like really good friends. There's like kind of a nice gang sort of feel to them, isn't there? And they're just kind of enjoying themselves together. And then we go from that to then them getting the news about how far Don't Go's gone in the charts. They get the phone call while Tom's with them. They sort of gather around the phone and It's doing really well. They're in the top 20 and they're genuine pop types. I did have a look on their Wikipedia page, and it's funny because you really sort of see the diminishing returns, like after this point, and then everything gets like slightly less good. And then by the time you get down to 1992, the entry just says, appeared as themselves in Lovejoy. That was,
They were in an episode of I think I've still got that on VHS. And I was quite keen on Hothouse Flowers for a couple of years, although I was listening back to the albums the other day. And the first one has got a few good songs on. And the second one, Home, which I really quite liked at the time, I found it unbearable because it was a sax player. Is it Leo Barnes was a sax player, I think?
Yeah.
He's just all over the place. And it's like, shut up, man,
around.
put a sock in your sax.
we come to the cover stars themselves.
Oh.
The lovely, lovely Bros Boys. They're at the Montreux Pop Festival, constantly trying to escape the press. A large part of this article is taken up with their plan to avoid the photographers at the official photo shoot. But I think what I'll do is I'll allow the never less than brilliant Sylvia Patterson to set the scene. So if you just bear with me, this is a bit of a lengthy intro, but it's Sylvia, and it's really funny, and it just tells us exactly all we need to know.
I mean,
about.
this I think this is peak Sylvia.
It is peak Sylvia, yeah. Bearing in mind as well, in a previous episode when we've talked about Bros, Nadia Shireen talked about Bros being like, what was the description?
The Labrador.
A bunch of Labradors that have been put in speeding cars. Let me say that again. A bunch of Labradors that have been put in a speeding car. And that's an image which I think just really, if you keep that in mind as you're reading this article, it's like, yeah, that just totally makes sense. Sylvia says, bonjour, listeners. Welcome to the lush green pastures of Montreux in Switzerland. A twinkling townlet surrounded by the grand and towering snow-capped Alps. A townlet filled with posh and civilised beings swishing along in their Mercedes-Benz automobiles. A townlet of harmonious swankery, disturbed by nothing but the tonkle of a distant cowbell and the odd goat herd yodelling merrily on the hillsides. But not this week. No siree. For Montreux has been invaded by every single pop notable in the entire cosmosphere. Pop notables intent on dondering and swaying and blithering and being sick in their hornpipes along the shoreside leafy pathways, hotly pursued by several billion journalists and photographers from every nation. This, then, is the general view of the Montreux Pop Festival experience, an event devised to bring together pop's glitteriest glitterati to mime along to a few of their pop tunes in a grim and fewy Montreux nightclub called The Casino. And the reason? Television. In a few weeks' time, you see, these performances will be beamed onto the televisual screens of the entire globe in the name of music television. Croix. The festival experience itself is, of course, a bubbling, sizzling cauldron of top pop gossip to be discovered or invented by the many, quote marks, journalists and photographers present. And each year, one group is deemed by the victim for scrutiny by these press folk. 2 years ago, Frankie Goes to Hollywood were the headline makers. Last year, it was the Beastie Boys, and this year it was to be those spring-cleaned Bros Boys. And was the scandal reported? Of course. The newspapers said, Gospel, their fan club wasn't very good. And that's about it, because you see the security surrounding Bros was completely astounding, and not one unscrupulous press type got anywhere near them. Except, that is, for this very publication, because it is cleverer and better looking than any other publication in the universe. So come with us, if you will, on a voyage of discovery with those Bros Boys from the very word so-called go. And there we go. So Sylvia's brilliantly
That was where my
there.
sale basically was made to Smash Hits. That was what married me to Smash Hits. Just language like that. She's absolutely bloody brilliant, isn't she? Swingerilliant.
They've checked into the Hyatt Hotel with their cunning pseudonyms, D. Rum, P. Anno and B. Ace, which they think are hilarious and very, very clever. As I said, they are a car full of young Labradors going down a hill at fast speed. Not really sure what's going on, but they're having a great old time. Jen, you were quite a Bros fan at this point, right?
Well, they were not unattractive young chaps.
That was the main thing
to my 11-year-old. But
right?
people in Dublin were very split on Bros, as I imagine that they were over here.
Yeah.
They had a slightly naff smell to them.
Yeah.
Shall we say, in the background. But, like a lot of us would have older brothers and sisters who just kind of laughed at them, and they'd be more into heavy metal and all sorts of other types of music. But, us young lasses, it was classic boy band time of the age, and there is always a hunky bunch of chaps. My thing with Matt Goss, though, and it remains the same to this day, I didn't fancy him the whole way, but I wanted to mother him.
Oh, okay.
He has a bit of an air of needing to be mothered that I even detected back then. And I get it now, both from him and also, believe it or not, from Jedward. I kind of want them to sit around my kitchen table and make him a nice hot meal and talk to them about their day and how things are in their lives and that sort of thing, and then give them a nice hug and send them on their way.
Yeah.
But Luke was always a bit more naughtier than that. There's definitely a big difference you can see, even then, between the two. Yeah, Luke looked like he'd go out with a knife and he'd mug grannies, basically. I hope he's not listening to this. But, that gave him his Hollywood career, whereas Craig Ken, he's just Ken. Just looked like he didn't want to be there at all. Bless him.
Checked out.
But I had good fun. I think me and my mates, I got the Push album, and there was photographic evidence of me receiving the Push album for my birthday or Christmas that year with my mullet. And they were bigger, older boys wearing leather jackets. A nice little hint of mean stuff going on, but not in that explicit way, really. But Matt has always come across as, like you say, a hyperactive Labrador, an over-enthusiastic Labrador who is a bit too hyper about life and, endearingly naive. And I don't buy... I know they had that documentary a few years ago and everybody, quite rightfully, ripped the piss out of them, and Matt in particular. And it just kind of banged home to me how much she actually needs a bit of a mum, an Irish mammy, to look after him and hold his hand.
It feels like you're making a pitch here, Jen. If you're
Possibly
listening...
Irish mammy services for young lads, young fellas. And I do make a good cup of tea as well. But no, I feel exactly the same about Jedward, although I think it looks like Gemma Collins has gone and fulfilled that role instead.
Right,
But no, I like Matt, and if I saw him in public, I would be quite chuffed to meet him and try and get a selfie. And they are not unattractive blokes. They are quite hunky. I can totally see the appeal. But my friend Carol in school, she was a massive brosette and had the whole Grolschlids on her, Doc Martens and all that sort of stuff. As well, even years after it was cool.
Still wearing them now?
Possibly, quite possibly.
Anything in this particular article that you kind of
Craig
jumped out
having
at you
a
or made you
water
chuckle?
fight in the hotel.
That was funny, yeah. They had a big water fight in the hotel room and exploded an electric shutter that was on the outside of the window.
Ouch. And it's Mark, the manager's birthday, so it's time to party on.
Oh, they give him the bumps, don't they? And sort of bring it off the ceiling down.
Yeah, launch him into the ceiling. Yeah.
Frankly, the place is in a bit of a state.
Yeah.
What a way to end the day, peeps, Luke, and off they troop to their kips for the night.
That's one way to rack a hotel room. Throw your manager into the ceiling.
Oh, yeah, they blether about looking a complete sight with their long locks when they were 16. Matt, what can you expect? I'd like to see a photograph of all the people here when they were 16. This is Switzerland, Matt. I'm sure they were all, army haircuts galore and, Ralph Lauren.
A large part of this piece is about their cunning plan that they've got to rid themselves of the photographers. They don't like many of the photographers and the journalists, so they set up a photo shoot. I don't know whose idea it is, but they're very happy with it. It's in quite an inaccessible place, and the photographers have to use long zoom lens to get pictures of them. And then they've arranged for a motorboat full of nice photographers, like approved photographers, to speed round and then take the close-up pictures. And they've not told like the other photographers, so obviously they're all fuming. Bros think this is like the best thing that's ever happened. They just think it's hilarious. They absolutely love it, and then they start thinking of other things that they could do in the future involving helicopters and this and that, and then the manager has to say, no, actually the insurance on that would be crazy, we're not doing that. But It's the whole thing like just a big daft adventure for them, isn't it? It's just hijinks and fun times. And
I've just spotted an absolute gem here as well.
Go on.
So this is on the Friday where they're going to the bar after escaping their interview prison, and it's 1 a.m. It's now time for them to venture forth into the Hyatt bar. This bar is the only one that stays open forever, hence it's the one that turns into a heaving den of pop notables, journalists, absolutely tons of quotation marks here, and photographers, tippling till they topple, and as such is not a very good place to be unseen. Verboys sneak in while it's still slightly quiet and scoff a few orange juices because, as Matt is so fond of saying, we don't drink. Yeah, says Craig, stroke Ken, sipping on a juice. In fact, I haven't been drunk for 3 weeks. Dope!
just after that, they start talking about food as well, and it talks about how towards the end of the interview, while they're talking about the price of breakfast, which apparently cost 120 quid for the four of them. I think they might have got the exchange rate wrong there. I know it's expensive, but like 30 quid a breakfast in 1988.
In Montreux,
that's
though. Yeah.
insane. I mean, maybe true, but Craig says, actually, I'd like to get a bar of white Toblerone. I'd totally forgotten about white Toblerone. Luke, oh, God. That started him off. He had a feast a minute ago. And then Matt says, he had a boost phase for a while as well. 4 or 5 boosts a day. I mean, boosts were like chunky old bars, weren't they?
Yeah,
4 or 5 a day.
Yeah, they were called Morrows in Ireland back then, fact fans. And I
Morrows?
particularly loved them. Yeah, M-O-R-O-S, yeah, Morrows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Craig says, yeah, well, I don't do any of that anymore. But why ever not? Oh, I just don't do it.
What, like it's heroin or something?
That's that. So yeah, there's we see unhidden depths there to Craig stroke Ken's chocolate habit. Bit of an Alan Partridge thing with his. What was it? Alan Partridge was obsessed by. Anything in their side that really caught your eye? There's many things, but
I loved this bit. So they're just having a chat between them and talking about how crazy is being in Bros, about the police having to shepherd them into towns and cities and things across the UK. But then Matt says, phew, the fans. Starts to look a bit wibbly in the head. I love them. I really love them. I love them so much. Carries on in this vein for several eons. I get a funny feeling in my belly. They take the mickey out of me, of course, but then everybody does all the time. Anyway, our manager, Luke and Craig, they call me Pampers.
Oh, dear.
And why, pray? Matt? Luke. It's because he has to be looked after all the time. We all need looking after, but Matt takes twice as much looking after. It's like he'll forget his glasses, he'll forget to pack his case.
So this is where I got it from.
This is where you got it from, Craig. But you know what the most annoying thing is? When you go in, Matt, and he's sitting 2 feet away from you, and there's nothing else going on, and you're starting to get a bit annoyed. Matt! Luke, Matt! And you end up throwing ice at him, and he's going, adopts weedy voice. What? Matt, looking a mite sheepish. I tend to go off a little bit. I do actually go into my own world sometimes. But, pointing to Luke, he's not much better. He can never decide which vest to wear. Ha 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 ha. Luke, I do like my vests, I must admit. Only the ones with the high necks, though. Like this one. I've actually got 4 of these now.
Trying to see if he is wearing one, and he's not. No.
Not in the photo shoot. But yeah, it's just absolutely just nuts insight into the world of Bros. They're just men babies.
yeah, they are.
They're just little
No
kids.
wonder Ken left.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, jeez.
Here we go again. They do need looking after. They need chaperoning. I mean, it's clear from the documentary, was it, When the Screaming Stops, whatever it was called,
Yeah.
that they are damaged from, traumatised from this period. But it's just, these sorts of conversations that are printed here just for us to, just wallow in it, just absolute.
You can sort of see the foundation stones of the damage being laid, though.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing is, though, and I know it's been mentioned several times before, obviously the irony of Ken moving on to tremendous success
Oh yeah.
in the music industry
Yeah.
with his managerial career and his, multiple relationships with very glamorous women as well.
Good on him.
Yeah, Absolutely, yeah.
Now he's off the 4 boosts a day. He's like
He's
trimmed down a
definitely
bit.
just Ken. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got that under control, the boost addiction. But the first thing that popped into my head when I started reading this, Montreux Pop Festival. I've been to Montreux. I went there specifically because I knew that David Bowie had recorded there and that the Montreux Pop Festival used to be there when I was backpacking in the 90s.
I thought you were going to say I went there specifically because of Ross.
Not because of it was the Bowie connection, and I stood on the edge of the lake there, and just gazed across the water.
Isn't that also what inspired Smoke in the Water as well?
The smoke on the water.
Yeah.
And it's going on about how expensive the breakfasts are and things. The only thing I can remember eating in Montreux was a packet of Pom Bear crisps or Pom Bar crisps from a vending machine on the station platform.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember the cost of
I
that?
don't remember the cost of that, but it would probably been very expensive because it was Switzerland.
How many francs? French or no, they were Swiss francs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
So that's my abiding memory of Montreux.
Wowzers.
Lots of flowers, looking across the water and eating some crisps. Whizzing through a few pages, we get to Scritti Politti, the lyrics to Oh Patty, Don't Feel Sorry for Loverboy, and a little interview with Green Gartside as well. So there's a photo of Green looking wistfully into the distance. It's a Mona Lisa sort of smile, not smile on his lips.
Well, enigmatic, isn't it?
It's very, very enigmatic. So Richard Lowe's speaking to Green and opens with, I've never actually known a woman called Patty, muses Green Gartside from Scritti Politti. So this song isn't about a specific person at all, I suppose, on the surface. It's about the end of a relationship, but really it's to do with faith. Faith in the world, in a way. Faith in the sense of knowing the truth about the world, be it in a political way, or in a religious way, or in any other way. That all sounds terribly pompous, doesn't it? Do you get the impression that this bloke called Green, the man who basically is Scritti Politti, is a bit of an intellectual type, viewers? Well, he is. A bit, anyway. One minute he's raving about the new Tiffany single and asking lots of questions about her. What's she really like? Is she happy? Is she a bright girl? And the next he's rattling on about his favourite painter, some bloke called Marcel Duchamp. A cool dude. He was a very radical artist in the 20s. Then one day he just decided to give it up. He thought, sod this, I'd rather play chess all day. So that's what he did. Aye, he's an odd fish and make no mistake. But who is he? Where did he spring from? And why the devil is he called Green? And then we go into the explanation of why he's called
I quite
Green.
like... This is something I also really liked about Smash Hits. I liked it when the more serious artists started talking about their songwriting craft, because that's something I would love to have done, and it constantly eluded me. But yeah, like Green covers it very, very nicely there. It's about the end of a relationship, but it's also about faith, and you've got the lyrics right there to compare it to. I'd rather do that than go through a boring old Emily Dickinson poem in school or whatever. Sorry, literary types, I do apologise, but I would relate to that a lot more, and I probably would have learned a lot more about songwriting having kind of applied it this way. So, there was... Smash Hits was really good for that sort of stuff. And then it would go straight to taking the piss again in an instant as well.
Yeah, it is a bit School of Smash Hits, this, isn't it? We have come across this a few times before, where suddenly you get quite interesting cultural figures pop up, like he's talking about the Italian communist Antonio Gramsci writing, and Marcel Duchamp and stuff like that, and it's talking about squats and punk rock. So there's actually quite a lot to dig into here. If you suddenly like Scritti Politti and you think, I want to find out a bit more about them, then this leads you down some of those pathways, doesn't it? Like we've done before.
Yeah, but it simplifies it in a very non-patronising way.
Yeah, and they were always really good at that. They didn't patronise you, and just gave you little things that you could, if you wanted to, go to the library and find out about.
Yeah, because they were a very heavy political band when they started out. They were very much on the DIY ethic
totally.
In the whole punk scene.
Well,
in fact, it does say here, he went to Leeds Polytechnic to study the philosophy of art history and become a punk rocker. I was completely into being a punk. It was my life. I lived in a squat, went to gigs every night, wore bondage trousers with red, green and gold stripes down them, the lot. A lot of the gigs that he went to, a friend of Gavin has put them on.
Indeed.
Stephen Green, also known as
Ah,
Beanie.
very good.
Word up, Beanie. Hello.
He was the Ent secretary at Leeds Poly in the late 70s and put on all these gigs.
Yeah, put on the
Everybody just
Pistols
seemed to
gig.
have so much fun in Leeds, honestly. Yeah, you'd almost swear it was why I lived there.
And it was a very, very fertile grounding for a lot of pop stars, wasn't it? Soft Cell,
Gang of Four.
Gang of Four, yeah, Scritti.
Yeah, and the Sisters of Mercy.
All of that.
You could take a lot out of these seemingly very innocuous articles back then. Of course, I think over the years, sadly, Smash Hit's editorial policy became a bit cheaper and became a bit more,
more
lowbrow,
tabloidy.
shall we say.
Yeah.
Although I am very lowbrow, to be quite frank.
Very monobrow. Or you were then.
Oh, 11-year-old me is upset at that now.
But,
Sorry, 11-year-old.
but for such a small piece, like, you know, it's more...
it does give away a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of threads to pull on if you were so inclined.
Okay, we move on to the singles reviews. And we've got proper pop stars in doing these. Aswad, an interesting choice. They're reviewing the singles. They like Wild War by Maxi Priest. They give that single of the week. Danny Wilson. Quite surprisingly, I thought they liked Bros. I love them, says Drummy. Oh, my God, Luke, Craig, Matt. He really does sound like Michael Jackson, says Tony. They're less keen on Morrissey, the Communards, and they really hate Doctor in the TARDIS by the Time Lords. They don't really say an awful lot about the actual music. They kind of it's a bit of an odd review page, this, but kind of entertaining in its own way.
I kind of get a slight Hothouse Flowers feeling here, insofar as they may have been doing this down the pub. Perhaps, or there may have been some refreshments.
Possibly,
provided
yeah.
It was all nice and light touch and fun, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just to give you an example of some of the odd things that they talk about. So Aswad are reviewing Sisters of Mercy, Lucretia, My Reflection, which, is an odd mismatch in the first place. But the thing that I didn't expect to read in this review was Drummy says, are they sisters only joking? I wouldn't say it's my personal cup of tea, but it sounds like a hit. It's the honesty I like. It's the honesty that gets to the people. I'm not really sure what he's getting at there. He's not talking about what the song sounds like or anything, but just going on about the honesty of Lucretia, My Reflection. Didn't quite understand his viewpoint there, but...
Maybe it's just not bubblegum pop.
Yeah, I don't know. Jen,
Okay.
what any reviews there that stand out for you?
I really, again, this is another thing that Mr. Gad has ruined forever. I actually really quite like that Time Lord single.
Oh, it's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and I
I've heard it
do
for
like the
ages.
song that it's based on. You know the one I mean.
Yeah,
I'm not going to name it now, but unfortunately, he has to just go and ruin things, doesn't he? And of course, that was kind of the first incarnation of the KLF in the early days, which progressed to being an absolutely huge thing amongst us pop kids who grew up to be pop teens at the early 90s as well. But no, it was a bloody good single. It's just a pity we can't listen to it very much now.
As would say, it's absolute and utter crap. How can you have a Doctor Who record without the Daleks? Crap!
And then it's such a very rum selection of singles. Some that are eternally remembered, i.e. Every Day Is Like Sunday. And another big one for me is actually Tougher Than the Rest by Bruce Springsteen. I do use that song to kick my own arse to this day sometimes. I know Bruce is very marmitey amongst folks of our generation as well. You either kind of love him or you hate him, but I do love him. He's handsome for a mid-70-year-old and he still chucks himself around the stage like Big Jim Kerr in Simple Minds. Very curious comment under the Communards song. So obviously there's more to love than boy meets girl, and even back then we knew that it was about non-heterosexual love, but this comment to the idea there's more to love than boy meets girl. As with the Boy George single, No Clause 28, it's not whether I agree with it or not, it's dealing with part of some people's reality. It's wrong for me to condemn. Bit of a self-aware comment, I suppose.
Yeah.
So it's a bit, I may not particularly agree with this, but it's down to people to... Everyone's got a right to voice it and to...
They kind of tie themselves in circles a little bit in the Boy George one as well, like
Yes,
talking
they
of similar
did.
stuff, as you said, and
Yeah.
you feel like maybe they don't want to be harsh and be haters, but
Yeah.
you feel like they don't want to come out and go, Absolutely, yeah. We're totally against this. So they kind of sit on the fence a bit, don't they? I think they just don't really want to get into the argument either way, and they're just like...
I mean, either this or it's very heavily edited, or their PR people have cast their eye over. But, you know, it's interestingly worded in the end result.
They kind of say the right
really.
things in terms of respecting people and saying we're not saying it's wrong, and people's rights shouldn't be taken away, but then they also say whether you agree with it or not, you know, so they kind of...
There's some quite harsh backing off going on.
Reverse,
There's some brilliant bloody mistakes here. Playground attraction meaning fairground attraction. And the Smiths did that Jean, take a bow, didn't they?
They've got very confused
Sheila,
there,
take a
haven't
bow, actually.
So you were saying before that Every Day's Like Sunday was like your favourite Morrissey 12-inch at the time.
Yeah.
Good B-sides, aren't they, on that 12-inch?
Brilliant B-sides. So I remember the week before it came out, John Peel played a song a night from the B-side of the 12-inch. So he didn't play the main single, of course. He played Doctor in the TARDIS quite a lot
right.
before that came. That was the first place I heard that. That was when John Peel was on, was it Monday to Wednesday, 10 till midnight?
Yeah.
And my mum worked a late shift in a bakery, and so I would wait up, this is my excuse, I would wait up for her to come home. But really, it was so I could stay up and listen to John Peel and tape the sessions and things like that. I remember him playing Sister I'm a Poet, Disappointed, and We'll Never Marry.
Yeah.
One song each night. I think, this is brilliant. And it had been the half term when that single came out. I remember going shopping with my mom. So she'd have got the family allowance, and that, you know, when she built it up a bit, and we used to go clothes shopping for me. And I bought that 12-inch from HMV. Then we went down the road to Debenhams, and I bought a shirt from Debenhams that was the same colour as the sleeve.
Okay.
Oh my God,
Like
you're
greeny.
splashing out.
Yeah, so like a greeny bluey sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I was totally into that.
Yeah.
Just absolutely
Disappointed
loved
is a
that.
really good song, and it's very Morrissey.
Yeah.
As well, before he turned extremely sour.
Yeah,
I do love the end of that. This is the last song I will ever sing. Yay! No, I've changed my mind again. Oh!
Good night and thank you.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
We're all just disappointed in Morrissey, aren't we?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But Aswad aren't keen, are they? Tony says, it doesn't sit on my street, and then Ed's put a question mark in there.
Yeah. Whatever that means. I don't think much of this does sit on their street.
No.
So, you know,
don't like
it's,
much, do
you
they?
know, and I think they can relate to and understand what Maxi Priest is doing more.
Yeah.
So
Fair
he's kind of like an easy choice for them to give that single of the fortnight.
Yeah, nice. Again, though, it's very representative of the 1988 pop world. Very, almost diverse, except it's lacking some dance stuff. You know, maybe the Boy George song is possibly dancing around the edge of that, but, you know, it's missing. But again, it's quite diverse stuff. Rock, goth, pure pop with the Communards and Bros, obviously, as well. So, yeah. As the years went on, it became a lot less diverse.
Yeah,
It was
kind of
just
narrowed
pure.
down, didn't it?
Yeah.
I'd not heard that Danny Wilson tune before, Davey. I actually really like that.
I was quite surprised that I liked that.
I was expecting to be bored shitless by Danny Wilson just because of Mary's Prayer, you know.
Well, it was a one-hit wonder, wasn't it?
But I thought that was good. It was kind of sounded like a bit of a Prefab Sprout kind of bass line. And
I always found them
really
too
liked
smug,
it.
but that one was
good
it's a
tune,
good
that,
tune.
yeah.
I better look that up. Yeah.
I like the comment about Sade. She just needs to perk up a little bit. She's a great singer, but and then
Cheer
Tony
up,
says
love.
she's a bit lazy.
She's a bit lazy. Bloody hell, she's as glamorous as hell. She doesn't need to do anything.
She's on the borderline of being very down.
That'd be all that smooth operating, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. We'll leave Aswad and we'll just come to the albums. There's not many albums at all in this one, only the 4.
The madness hit me a bit. They were clearly going through their serious yuppie stage here, and you know, not being the so hilarious madness. The madness.
For legal reasons, that's why they were the madness.
Of course,
Because
yes.
There's only 4 of them left out of the original
Yes,
7.
indeed.
So 6 out of 10 for them. Status Quo get 4 out of 10 by Graham Kay for their album Ain't Complaining. It talks about their the current single, The Slightly Blubsome Who Gets the Love. And
Blubsome.
again, if you get the chance to watch the video, it's very entertaining. You get Rick Parfitt with some lovely designer stubble, looking a bit like Noel Edmonds, as my wife Lynn said. I was like, oh yeah, that's who it reminded me of. And we were watching the video last night. It was hilarious. There's like a very convoluted story about a love triangle, and it involves a yuppie slipping on a mackerel on a plate on some steps. It's very, very 80s, like lots of dry ice and some great acting going on in it. So
and a red Porsche, which
take a look
everybody
at that.
drove back then.
The aforementioned Hothouse Flowers get kind of album of the month, if you like, album of the fortnight, with 7.5 out of 10, the top score from previous guest Barry. He says, what an extraordinary tale this is. Bloke gets discovered by Bono, forms group. They release 2 singles, go on Eurovision Song Contest, get 0 points, become pop stars and release LP, which goes straight to the top of the Irish charts. But is it any good? Yes, it is, actually, particularly the 2 songs written by vocalist Liam...
O'Manley.
Thank you.
An Irish woman speaks.
Thank you, Irish mammy. About his mate who died. Don't go, and if you go, while the others all stomp along in a pleasant enough way, particularly feet on the ground. Even if it does get a bit dull now and again. Ballad of Katie. I'm sorry. So, Gus, are they the next U2? No, probably not. But still 7.5 out of 10, so that's not
formidable.
bad.
Yeah.
And the other album to get reviewed is more Dirty Dancing. So after the original Dirty Dancing film soundtrack, then they've obviously, that did well, so they've cobbled together another one, a half-baked hodgepodge of a souvenir, as Ian Cranner calls it, and 4 out of 10 for that.
I just want to nip back to the film reviews.
Oh yeah, go on. Sorry, I'm not even...
So there's one called The Woo Woo Kid. Now, woo woo now I think means something very different to what it did then. This is the true story of one Ellsworth Sonny Wisecarver, impressively portrayed by Patrick Dempsey, a dapper young chappie who, in his heyday, caused a considerable stir when he developed a taste for older married women. Not very scandalous by today's standards, admittedly, but in America in the 1940s, when all this happened, such shenanigans were totally unacceptable. As a consequence, 15-year-old Sonny finds himself in more than just the occasional spot of bother, i.e. he gets arrested quite a bit and finds that his clothes fall off frequently.
Just like Cupid's shunt.
And that's really all there is to this video. It's a mild-mannered and rather mirthful account of Sonny's adventures during those years. Well acted, well directed, helped greatly by the dry-humoured and quite hilarious narration of Patrick Dempsey. Well worth a look. I've never seen that film, but
Me neither. And PG as well.
PG.
Yeah.
For basically an underage sex movie. It's like...
It's an underage sex rom-com.
Yeah. Other films being reviewed here. Wish You Were Here, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Inner Space, Suspect, and also Bright Lights, Big City.
I say this because my local shop around this time it's a tiny middle of the estate corner shop, started catching on to the old video rental craze of the mid-80s, and one of the videos that they had was Bright Lights, Big City. And of course I was in and out of the shop every day. My mum used to send me to get all sorts for the family there day in, day out. They knew me well. I knew that shop better than I knew my own house. And one of the videos they had was Bright Lights, Big City with an 18 rating, and of course mulleted, monobrowed 11-year-old me, who everybody knew was 11, will go, try and rent this out. No, Jen, I can't give it to you. It's 18s. Okay, then, well, can I buy 40 players cigarettes for my dad? Yeah, of course you can. Here you go.
So, Jen, going back to your first ever smash hits, was that a beautiful experience for you?
It was most satisfying, I have to say, and I wanted more and more and more, and I became a devout reader and buyer of it for a good 5 years, I think, really.
This is the origin story of it all, right? Or your smash hits origin story.
I'll tell you, it was perfect reading for an 11-year-old. It had everything appropriate. I mean, if I had...
And even some things that's slightly inappropriate. But,
true, but you get those little hints, don't you, when you're 11 anyway. If I had an 11-year-old daughter now, I'd be perfectly happy with them.
Yeah.
Reading that, although I'm sure they would utterly freak out at this old-fashioned, how on earth did you like those Bros guys back in the day? Ugh, they're disgusting. But yeah, I really get that same feeling I did when I first read it. I just wanted so much more. And it wasn't just the lyrics, it was just the journalism was incredible. The sense of humour it has totally informed the absolutely irreverent and stupid and silly sense of humour I have to this day. But as a grown-up, you read things like that Scritti Politti article, you realise actually there's a few useful little tidbits there that could educate the naive young music curious lover. Yeah, so incredible. And yeah, I just want to say thanks, guys, for having me on this as well. The pleasure and the privilege has been entirely mine. But it's I know I don't have the media background. I'm just a pop kid. But yeah, no, I think what you do is fantastic and really humorous, and it's got that lovely affection for what smash hits meant back in those days. And yeah, I think just keep on doing it, guys.
Oh, thanks, Jen. That's very kind.
Well, we're pop kids are just as important in the story of smash hits as the pop stars and the people who worked on the mag. You can't have one without any of the other.
It's like the Holy Trinity. You need all.
It is. You need all three.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks to you for listening. Don't forget to check out our website, giddypoppod.home.blog, where you'll find the links to the issue of Smash Hits that we've been looking at, along with those Spotify and YouTube playlists, so you can enjoy your ride on the carousel to its fullest. And of course, you can check out our previous episodes, playlists and scans, our back issues, if you will, while you're there.
And if you want to support us by buying us a coffee, then you know what to do. Go to ko-fi.com/giddypoppod. And if you feel moved enough to leave us a review, then please do. And come and say hello to us on the socials as well, and we'll say hello back at Giddy Pop Pod.
So thanks once again for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Giddy Carousel of Pop. Bye! I always wave. I don't know why I wave every time.
I always wave.
Very celebrity-ish.